Hi everyone, I hope things are okay for you. So today we have a new episode. It's going to be about culture, but it's a little bit different from what I used to do before and what I used to publish. Today I have Julia with me, and we're going to talk about the differences between America and Tunisia. We're going to talk about cultures and many other stuff. So she has come and she passed by, and now we're in my room. So we have a different set and a different place that we're recording from. Hopefully the sound and the quality are gonna be okay for this episode. So without further talking, I'm going to say welcome again, Julia. And I hope you're doing okay. And thank you one more time for attending despite everything.
Yes. No, thank you for having me. It's so nice to be in your home. And speaking of culture, Nour's mom gave us some juice and some cookies, which is a very lovely part about Tunisian culture. So, it's a pleasure to be here.
So this is something that we're going to talk about one more time. But before that, I wanted you to summarize coming to Tunisia, and more specifically to Djerba, in one word. How was your experience?
I think, first of all, good question. I think if I had to describe it in one word, the word I would probably use is enlightening. I think that my worldview and just the way that I view the world has become so much bigger and broader than when I was just living in America and wasn't really exposed to people that were different than me, that looked different than me, that believed different things than me. And so I've just learned a lot about the way that people think and why people do the things that they do. And so I think that has just been really eye-opening for me. And one quote that I heard once relating to that, like relating to culture, because sometimes you see a different culture and you're like, wow, that's weird, or why do they do that? Maybe you disagree with it or you think it's wrong. The quote that I heard just was describing, like, it's not wrong, it's just different. And so just having this mentality to really seek to understand and to, learn and ask questions, I think has really been a great experience for me.
Yeah, and for that, I'm gonna start by asking you, how was your experience with language? Because, as you know, guys, here we talk Tunisian dialect, and not even like Arabic, the Arabic that people know. It's more like Tunisian dialect, and in Djerba specifically, we have a lot of elderly people, and we don't have a lot of young people who speak English, at least not everywhere. People try all the time, but it's not always like a native speaker or someone who can really have a long conversation with you. So how was exactly your experience with language?
Well, first of all, I just want to brag and thank the Tunisian people, because there have been so many times that, especially early on when I didn't know many words or didn't know really how to speak with people, they were so patient with me and just, tried their best to understand me and understand what I was trying to say and, help me. I have so many stories of that happening. And I don't know, I think almost it's like a gift that Tunisians have, just being able to understand people really without words, and because, I came here, I didn't know any French, only English, I didn't know any Arabic or anything. So, it was really hard and difficult to communicate at first, but there is a language center here in Djerba that teaches Tunisian dialect, which was important for me if I was going to live here, to be able to actually speak with people. And because I would love to learn Fusha one day, but the standard Arabic, but it's not the language of, everyday people talking to each other. So
it's just for reading.
Right. And so I studied that, and it was a lot of work, but I learned it, and I think I had really great teachers and a lot of friends that were patient with me that, would listen to me as I struggled to say something, or and I have friends like you that speak English. So yeah, it was a great experience. I think I've learned Spanish in the past. I studied Spanish in the past, and I don't remember anything, or I just never used it. So now that I live here and I use it, it's a much easier experience. And
for sure.
Yeah.
So, do you remember how much did it take you to have very short conversation? Let's say at least the basics. In a restaurant, or to go to the grocery shop, or just to ask for directions. How much did it take you to just get used to it?
Gosh, it's so hard to remember now because it was, a few years ago now. But probably like 6 months, where I felt really confident and comfortable. I could say simple things like atini halib, or I don't know, I could say simple things, but to have like an actual conversation with someone, it probably took like 6 months or so. And simple conversation, right? Like not,
Not very long conversations.
Yeah. And actually, I know in Djerba there's loads of people who maybe they're Tunisian and they grew up in France, or maybe they don't know Tunisian dialect. And I would really encourage you guys to check out the center in Djerba. It's a great program, and I think I would just encourage, if you want to learn Tunisian dialect, to check out that school in Hamsuk.
So how did you do with those letters that aren't already that you didn't know before, like ha or ha, or these kind of pronunciations that you were not supposed to talk with in English?
I still struggle with those. There's like some words that I definitely know have the ha and not the ha, but I still struggle with those. Not necessarily like making the sounds, but just knowing when it goes, like which sound goes with what word. The program that I did, it was all listening based. So the first 100 hours, you don't speak at all, you just listen.
Oh, okay.
So the accent actually was easier to pick up, because my ears just got used to hearing it. But we didn't focus so much on reading and writing. So there's a lot of words that I'm still not sure, does it have the ha? Does it? Yeah. And thankfully here in Djerba we use the ge, not the ka, because the ka is the hardest, I think, for me. But yeah, it just took time, I think, to get used to it. And I still don't sound Tunisian when I talk. I still sound like an American trying to speak Tunisian Arabic,
It's like Tunisian trying to speak English and trying to be as close as a native speaker, but you will never reach that level. Somehow it's impossible. It's just you can feel closer, or we can hear you in a way where we're like, oh, that's very nice, but it would never ever be a native speaker. So, and I guess you just have to really get used to people and live in that culture and live in that city in order to practice a lot. To seem as close as it can be. Let's say a C1 level, for example, whether in English or in, not going to say in Arabic because I'm not sure if we have levels, but at least to know how to talk, in an easy way for you, but at the same time, it's going to be a correct pronunciation and the correct words and all that. Okay, so that's the language part. Tell me, how did you do, for example, the first months when it comes to eating? Because cooking is not the same at all, and not the same ingredients, not the same thing in the supermarket. So how did you do? Were you just eating some sandwiches and pizza and all that, or you actually asked how to cook Tunisian things, and you were really invested and interested to cook new things and try to taste new things?
Yeah. So both. So when I moved to Tunisia, I was single. I lived by myself. So I don't know. I was mainly just eating for survival. So yeah. So I didn't I'm starting even, like now that I'm married, I've started to learn more how to cook Tunisian food. But the really cool thing about my language center that I studied there, they had these things called shared experiences, and we would do things like go to the freep or go to the souk, and we would just, experience things together, and through that we would learn different words and things like that. So there were a few times that my language teacher would come to my house, or I would go to her house, and we would learn. She would teach me how to cook things. So teach me how to cook couscous, or teach me how to cook. I still have. If I ever cook margat gara, I always follow her. She sent me a recording of how to make it, and we spent like a lesson cooking that together. So. Yeah. The Tunisian cooking is harder, I think, for sure, than American cooking. But so I haven't quite mastered it myself, like how to cook Tunisian food myself. But I really enjoy Tunisian food. It's so good. A lot of people think that because I'm a foreigner, I don't like spicy food, but I actually love spicy food. So, it's funny. I'll go to get like chapati or malawi or something, and they'll be like, no harissa. And I'm like, no, I want harissa. I really like the Tunisian food. I think the only thing that I miss about American food is like here in Tunisia, if you want to eat healthy food, normally you have to eat it at home. Yeah. Like pretty much not always, but like a lot of the easy, like fast options for like fast food or whatever is like sandwiches and fries and, things like that. Yeah. And in America, there are like healthy options that you can get kind of on the go. There's just like a few different restaurants that are really popular that, serve healthy food. So that's really the only thing I miss is, if you want to eat something healthy, you kind of have to eat it at home, which is good. But, if you don't have time, you feel like you're obliged to eat a malawi or a chapati or, something.
Yeah, or else you actually have to go to a restaurant and really ask for a salad or something that's not heavy and that doesn't contain bread. Which it will take a little bit longer to be cooked, but at the same time, if you want to eat something healthy, you're obliged to wait a little bit. But when I went to Canada to my sister, this is an option that yes, I felt like you have options there. You can go to any restaurant or coffee shop, and you always have those prepared salads or healthy sandwiches, like with healthy bread and all the everything that's being contained is like really healthy, which I really liked, like chicken or anything that's not heavy, to be honest. It really, it's delicious, and at the same time, it's fast. So I'm like, whoa.
I know. It's great. Yeah. And that was another thing, speaking of bread, that was another thing that was really strange to me at first was how much bread we eat here. Yes. Because, we don't eat bread at all, really, in America. Like, I mean, we do if we are eating, like, sandwiches, but, that's it, really. And so I was shocked by that at first, but now it's like, I want bread with every meal too, kind of become Tunisian in that way. So
sometimes this shows how we have the same shape here in Tunisia, like in the body shape. People always, I don't know why. I'm not sure if it's a prejudice or it's the reality that people say here we have like more curvy people, even like men, not only women, more than abroad. Like people say because exactly we eat so much bread with everything. But I think it's the same for like America or Britain or Canada. I've seen so many people, they eat a lot of junk food, so immediately you're gonna see people overweight or whatsoever. But I guess it's the bread. It's the only thing that's making it worse is the bread. And I don't think it's very healthy, to be honest, like to eat it every day with everything, at least. It's too much. I'm not a bread girl, to be honest. But for people who eat so much bread, even like with couscous or rice, or I'm like, why? Why all that? But yeah, it depends on each person, of course, their preferences. But I think this is something that's into our culture. Probably like Japan, for example, or China, they eat a lot of rice. So I feel like it's the same thing. Each country has their own that one meal that everybody in the world knows that you eat it more than any other country. So that's a little bit funny when you think about it, to be honest.
It is. Food is a huge part of culture, you know. Whether we like it or not. I mean, it's a huge part of a place and of its culture. So, yeah.
Talking about food, so what's your favorite plate?
Tunisian plate. Gosh, it's hard to choose. I mean, I love briek. I love, I love molokhia. That's probably one of my, and it's one of those that feels special because you don't have it all the time. So I really love that. I love maraqat gara. That's also one of my favorites. Really? Yeah, maraqat jalbena too. I like jalbena. I like all the maraqats really. Yeah, I like couscous, but I think I've just had it so much because it's like always the thing that someone cooks, you know, if you go to their house.
And is it with meat, like your favorite, or with fish, or?
I prefer probably with meat, yeah.
Same.
What are your favorite foods, your favorite Tunisian dishes?
I don't know if you know rouz jarabi and masfouf. Okay. These two, I don't know, like they're my really favorite. But at the same time, I feel like I also love pasta. I love pasta, but, you know, it's not any pasta. It's like my mom's pasta.
Yeah, darl-mima.
Yeah, you feel like the Tunisian touch in there. So probably that. I used to love lasagna before. I still love it. But I guess if you would say lasagna or ruz bil khadra or masfouf, I would say masfouf.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I guess these are my favorite. I'm not sure. I don't think it's everybody's favorite because it actually looks like couscous a little bit. It just depends on the ingredients that you put later on. But for me, the ingredients of masfouf they're not typical. I feel like they're a little bit traditional, and I don't know, they're just delicious. The combination between all these flavors, it gives something that I like, especially to drink it with a juice while like drinking a juice or something. It's beautiful. So
yeah, I also love aja. I know that's like a very common food, you know, but I love it. It's one of my favorites. So I actually make that at my house a lot.
All people that I know who came from America, they love aja for some reason. I have no idea why. I don't know if you remember the documentary that I made in Faza when I used to work with them. The documentary of native people, not native, foreigners living in Tunisia. Whenever I ask about their favorite plates, always aja, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? They would say it's quick, probably because it's quick to cook, but it's also delicious.
Yeah, I always tell people because, you know, or my Tunisian friends, because, you know, they never make that for like a guest because it's not really food. It's like normal food like we talked about. But I always say, you can make me aja anytime. I will eat it. I will come running. I love aja. So
yeah, I don't think we do cook this for anybody because we think it's not a very fruitful plate. But at the same time, yeah, it's nice, to be honest. Yeah. Okay. Now we talked language, we talked about cooking and things like that. Now tell me about, I guess you have attended so many weddings, literally like Djerbians and non-Djerbians, like other regions. So what do you love most about it? Is it the outfits, the atmosphere, the songs? Like, what is it exactly? Because it's very, very different from American culture, like very. So what do you like about it? And do you even like it? Because for sure, like you have the ability to say, you know, it's like different and it's tiring, and which is totally true. Sometimes I feel like it's very tiring, especially if it's a very long wedding. It's not like 2 days. It's like 3, 4, 5, 6 days. Yeah. So, what's exactly your opinion about it?
I think the longer I live here, the more I like them, because I feel like the weddings that I go to now versus like when I first moved here are people who are, actually my friends. And like this summer we had our friend Sarah's wedding, and I was telling her the other day, like, it was the best wedding I've been to in Tunisia because, one of the best. My other really good friend got married this summer too, and it was also so fun. And I think, just the longer I live here, the more I understand, like, language-wise, and also, like, if other friends are at the wedding, that makes it fun too, like, if you know people there. So the things that I like about it, I love the fact that, like the Saharitan said, like, it's only women. I really love that. And I know that's like a Djerbian.
Talking about tuition, right?
Yes.
Yes. So we have like different nights. So just specify to people, tuition that we have in Djerba.
I love that night just because people are
dressing
nicely, and they're letting their hair down, and just having fun, and it's just so fun to see everyone just having a good time. And I like the tuition, like, I like the music and stuff, and so that's probably my favorite part. And the food, the wedding food is always so good. And I think the thing I don't like about weddings as much, there's a lot of things that I do like, but just the one thing that I think I don't like is I go to bed so early and they're just so late at night. But when you're having fun, you don't feel it, right? You don't feel...
It's just when you go again and just sit in your bed, you're like, oh my God, that was so tiring. The realization hits.
I'm not used to that. So, if it's a wedding of a friend that I'm excited to go to, I'm happy to stay up late. But if it's someone that, it's a friend of a friend, or, that can be hard to stay up late for. But,
And how does it go in America?
So the difference is weddings in America are only one day.
It's always one day?
Yeah, we have, like, different activities that we do on other days. Like, we have... bridal showers where people will come and bring gifts for the bride and groom. And then we have the bachelorette party, and that's usually like one weekend before the wedding.
I guess we started having that now in Tunisia. Somehow I see a lot of bride-to-be parties where it's only girls and the bridesmaid and stuff like that. So,
but like here where, you have multiple nights where, like, one night you have a party for the women, and then you have another night for, I just lost my train of thought. Like the kiswa and the jahfa and all of those things, like, and the asha, so the dinner, all of those things kind of happen in one night, in America. So, and we don't stay up late. Like, I feel like most weddings are over by like 10 o'clock. Maybe some later, but in general, that's, they're over pretty early. So, traditionally in America, you would have like a ceremony, and traditionally it's been in a church, but a lot of people are having them in other places like, event centers and things like that. And then after that, you would have a party where you have dinner and dancing and things like that. So, those are the main differences, I would say.
Okay, and if you had to redo your wedding again, would you like to have another Djerbian version of it? Even though I know that you've made a little party like after you came, but if you had the chance to do like tuition and dinner and stuff, would you like to do that?
Yeah, I love to go to weddings, but I don't think I'd want to
be the bride.
Yeah. It seems like so much work, so it's so much fun, and I love to go, but I don't think I would want to have one of my own. Right.
It's the same for me. Sometimes I'm like, I'm okay attending, but I'm always thinking about what I'm gonna do in my wedding. It's very tiring, and you know, you need a lot of energy here to go with the flow. But it is still beautiful. I still like so much our traditions. I cherish them so much, and I would never ever think of doing an American wedding, for example, like too simple and just a little amount of people, a few people coming, and just, I don't know, like an hour or two. That would be for me. That would be unfair. I want to cherish my relationship more, and I want to see people more and get to talk to everyone, and also let everybody talk to each other. Probably they didn't see each other for months or years, and they get to meet on that occasion. I'd be happy for people to meet after all that time.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something. Like, I've been to a couple of weddings here that feel more non-traditional, you know, they're more Western or whatever. And I really, I mean, everyone has the right to choose what they want, right? But I really love, like, when someone has a Djerbian wedding, you know, like, especially because, you know, with globalization and, you know, the world just becoming more and more similar to each other, I think it's really important to keep your traditions, you know. So if I was Tunisian, I definitely would want to have a Tunisian wedding. But yeah, it would, just for me, you know, I'm not used to that. So it would be a lot of work, I think. And like you guys, you know, you have your family that help you and, you know, help prepare. But for me, living here, I don't, you know, I know my friends would help me, but it's not.
Yeah, unless you also have more family members coming and stuff like that. Okay. So we kind of talked through different things which I asked about, but now I want you to tell me more about things that you have in mind that I didn't ask about. For example, when it comes to money-wise, consumption, studying, all that. And also do not forget that you also have a different religion, so you go to the church. Do you think that there are like churches that are available, or we still miss a lot of places for other religions here apart from mosques and, you know, stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, Tunisia as a whole, like, is a lot, I mean, Tunisia is known for being, like, more religiously tolerant, I guess, of other religions, which I think is a beautiful thing. I mean, there are churches here in Djerba. The main one that I know of is Catholic, and so I'm not Catholic. So, you know, they're considered like fellow Christians and things like that, but just the way that they do things is a little bit different than what Protestants do. So it's not exactly the same, so this is maybe a bad comparison, but I always kind of explain it to people, like the difference between Sunni and Shia Muslims.
I guess it's the same with Christians. They have the same.
It's similar, right? Like it is different still, but they're, you know, Sunni and Shia, they're all Muslim, but they just do things a little bit differently. So but it's funny, like, you know, America and I think the West has become very secular, just in a lot of ways, as everyone knows and sees on TV and things like that. And like in my faith and my religion, a lot of those things I think people maybe perceive as what we believe, and, you know, that we think we agree with those things and we think those things are okay, but we actually don't. It's in a lot of ways really refreshing to live here, where people do have high moral standards and things like that, because you don't see that in America anymore, or not as much. But I do always tell people, like, where I'm from in the South, people are generally more religious and conservative, sometimes in bad ways, but then in a lot of times in good ways. And so it actually feels like, in some aspects, there's a lot of similarities between Djerba and where I'm from in America. You know, obviously there's big differences, but just like the communal familial mentality. Like everyone really cares and loves their family and are kind of community oriented. That's much more common in the southern part of the U.S. than in like the north, and maybe in some other European countries. And again, just like some of the more moral issues, like living together before you're married, and which are religious ideas. But I think with the South being more conservative, it's become a cultural thing as well. So, yeah. I can kind of talk about maybe some things that were strange to me when I first moved here that, but, they're just funny things, like small things. But one of those things was, when you were mentioning money, it made me think of it. Here in Tunisia, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nour, you're Tunisian, so you know better than me, but here in Tunisia, like, it's pretty normal to ask someone, like, how much you paid for something. And I've even...
It's not only strange to you, it's strange even to us, because not everybody gets to ask this question or is allowed to ask this question. And I guess it's more with Gen Z now. They get to talk and they get to speak that it's inappropriate to say this or say that, or to ask this or ask that. So they try to avoid asking such questions, and they try to stop whoever is going to ask them the question. So
and that's what people have told me. Like my friends, they've been like, only some people do that. It's actually kind of weird for us too,
especially elderly people, I guess.
But like we really don't do that in America at all. And like I was explaining to someone the other day, like I don't even know my parents' salary. Like I don't, people who are really close to me, I don't know how much they paid for their houses, So it's funny. Like in America, we're very private about that kind of stuff. So that's one thing regarding money. Another big thing is in America, like we don't have good public transportation. Like unless you go to a big city, we really have very bad public transportation. So that's different from Tunisia, but also in Europe, there's more options. I mean, Europe is better than Tunisia, maybe in some ways in terms of that. But even in Tunisia, if you need it, you can find a taxi. And, in America, everyone has a car and they drive everywhere. So that's a big difference. And
in education, for example.
That's a big difference too. I mean, gosh, the education system here seems, I didn't study here, but it seems very difficult. And, in America, I always tell people, like, for the most part, at least, and it might have changed by now because I've been out of school for a while, but especially in, high school and things like that, you almost have to work harder to fail than you do to succeed, which is like completely the opposite here. Like people work really, really hard and sometimes they still don't, succeed. So,
sad story.
I know. Yeah. It's also different, just the system in general. Like we don't, choose a specialty in high school. So we all study in general the same thing. And then when we go to university, we choose a specialty. So that's a big difference. But one thing that I really love about the Tunisian system, from what I've heard and seen, is that you study things like philosophy and you study things, you study languages. We don't really do that in high school or primary school, and I think that's really valuable stuff to learn.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
We also, unless you go to a private school, they don't teach religion in school. In America, so that's also different. At public schools, they don't study religion. So, yeah. Do you think someday, when you think now about it, do you think someday you would teach your kids here or in America? So that's a great question. My husband, he's not Tunisian, but he grew up here in Tunisia, and he studied in Tunisian school. Oh, okay. And he, all the way from Tahdiri until back. Wow, okay. So, yeah.
So he went through the whole process.
Yeah, and he had a great experience and loved it, and he went on to study in university in the UK. So ideally, like, I would love our kids to do that same thing, because like my husband's Arabic is amazing and his French is good too,
And he has the experience, so
yeah. And yeah, I think those, especially if we're planning to live here, like I really would love our kids to be able to, know those languages and stuff. So,
and it's gonna be a hard burden, to be honest, to relocate, go again to the US, and then once they grow up, you get to come back if you actually want to come back and you like it here and you see yourself like living here. Right. So when you think about it, you're like, whoa, I'm always going to be in a country. My kids are going to be in another country. So we won't have that family time, and we're not going to live together. And this is not actually a very good thing to go through. So it's either this or that. Yeah. So the fact that you have already your husband going through the experience, it makes it much easier and much better.
Yeah, he can help them with their Arabiya Fusha homework, because I can't. No, but I think, like, kind of what I was saying too, I really love the value that Tunisia puts on languages, because we don't learn languages until high school in America, and so I would love our kids to be able to speak other languages.
True.
But yeah, we'll see. I mean, we have no plans as of now to leave, but
just the fact of it, the idea of it, then it's gonna depend.
And I think, like, there are some things, if our kids one day, if we stay here long enough that our kids, study in Tunisian school and then go to America for university, there will be some things that we'll have to teach them maybe at home, like American history, maybe, like, I know you study that a little bit here, but maybe more in depth, or different English things that, we would study in America that maybe you wouldn't study here. So,
just to prepare them.
Yeah. Some other things that were really different for me as an American moving to Tunisia, kind of going back to food we were talking about earlier, is like in America, for example, if you go to a restaurant, you can order water to drink water for free. So you don't pay for water. And that's because they're not giving you a bottle of water. They're giving you like the tap water. Yeah. Because we drink the tap water in America. Yeah. But that's free. So that was, different for me coming here and having to pay for water. Another thing is if you go to a restaurant and you order like a Coke, for example, they'll give it to you in a glass, and it's usually a big glass. Yeah. And there's free refills. So they will keep refilling your glass with Coke. So you could, for example, drink 3 big glasses of Coke and, pay just one price for it. Yeah. So it's funny, actually, when my husband went to America with me for the first time, we went to a restaurant and he drank like 3 glasses of Coke Zero, and he was like, "This is amazing." So that may be one of the reasons why Americans are known for being fat, is because they drink a lot of soda. Yeah. And then also, if you go to a restaurant, related to the servers at the restaurants, they are very, very attentive. So they will come, like if you're eating, with your friend or whoever, they will come to your table every 10 minutes or so, asking, are you okay? Do you need anything?
True, yeah. That's something that I have seen in Canada, and it makes me feel sad that not in each restaurant or in each coffee shop we have the same service in Tunisia. I feel like we're missing a lot of service quality. You can have it like in some spots, which I don't remember now, but I'm sure like I had great experiences in Djerba or in Tunis. But I feel like it is supposed to be something very common. It's not in some places. This is the basics of your restaurant or your coffee shop. So it's either a top or a flop just because of the service, not only the food that you serve.
Yeah. Well, and one motivation why people do that in America, why servers do that in America, is because they receive a tip. So, in America, if you don't give a tip to your server, it's like Abe, like it's like
sometimes it's even in the bill. I have seen this so many times, and sometimes when you want to take it off, if you can take it off, I feel like they look at you in a way that's really bad.
Yeah.
And they get like a second salary just because of the tips. So
yeah, no, it's so true. And so it makes sense, like, why here, if people don't always give tips, the servers aren't motivated to be very attentive. And I think, like, and even in some cultures, I don't know, maybe you could say if this is the case here in Tunisia, but in some cultures, it's almost seen as like rude to keep coming up to the table and interrupting, or you feel like they're maybe trying to rush you, like to make you leave the restaurant.
Yeah, probably this happens in Tunisia. I'm not sure if it happened with whoever is listening, but yeah, I guess it's the same thing when you go to a shop, a clothing shop, and that person keeps like following you everywhere just to ask you if you need something, a specific size of that shirt or whatsoever, but you feel like they're too there, like they're being too close, and they're following you and with each step, and you just feel fed up and you just quit. I think it's the same thing with restaurants, but it's a culture thing.
I know. Yeah. It's funny how, everyone has a different perspective, on that. Also related to restaurants and just in general, in America, people never use cash. Like, it's very rare to use cash. They use credit cards or debit cards, bank cards for everything. So that was something that was new for me when I came, just, carrying cash with me all the time.
Yeah, we still don't have that culture a lot, especially in Djerba. Probably in Tunis, it became available in some places. But in Djerba, I feel like it's not given to everyone. Not everyone has that machine, and they don't get to accept it much, which I think it's already time to wake up and to follow where the world is going, because it's, I feel like it's kind of mandatory. Sometimes, for example, I don't have cash sometimes, and I would like to buy something, and I find myself I can't do anything with my card because they don't have any machine where I can just pay them. And in that specific moment, I'm like, God, why? So, yeah, and I think it's way harder for foreigners because we grew up with it in Tunisia, so we don't feel the difference much unless we go abroad. But for you guys, it's kind of a problem sometimes because you don't get used to it quickly. You always have that card and you're like, yeah, whatever, I'll just buy whatever with my card. But then you remember that, no, it doesn't work this way here.
Yeah, that's true. Thankfully, I'm used to it now. But yeah, it did take some time to become used to it. Yeah, to adjust to it, yeah. But just in general, like, to wrap up my experience in Tunisia and what I've noticed about the differences, Tunisia is such a rich culture, and I think that's something that, with America being so big and so mixed, we don't really have it's not, there's many different cultures kind of mixed into one, and that's one thing that I love about Tunisia is how rich the culture is, and also just how nice people are and hospitable, how people really, want to help you and care for you. And that's something that, you don't always see in America. So I've really learned a lot from that and learned how to be generous and hospitable through my Tunisian friends. And And Nour, I know we were talking about this a little bit earlier. People always ask me, which is better, America or Tunisia?
Yeah.
And It's a complicated question because
it's like a part of you is here and the other part is there, and you just can't choose.
It's kind of like asking someone to choose their favorite child, you know? I moved to Tunisia as an adult. I was born in America, so America will always be, my country, where I grew up. My family's there. So I have a love for America. And what we were talking about earlier, I have a complicated relationship with America just because, my eyes have been open to all the bad things that America has done as a country and things. So, on the one hand, I'm thankful for the opportunities that it's given me and, it being a free country and being able to even criticize it sometimes, that's a freedom that not everyone has. So I'm thankful for that. But, everyone knows that America has done some bad things, is currently doing bad things. So, I have a complicated relationship with America, and at the same time, like, I love Tunisia. I love the people here. I love the culture. I've had a great experience living here, and so, it's a hard question to answer, and they're just both so different, and both have really beautiful things, and both have hard things. And I always tell people, if America was paradise or heaven, I would have stayed. So yeah,
same for Tunisians here. They say that they like it, but if they had the things they were missing, they would stay. But they went abroad, for example, just to work or to gain money, to make a career and a bright future, as they say. I think I have the same thing. I feel like if we could have the same opportunities we could have abroad, we would have always stayed. But it's the fact that you cannot realize your dreams, and there are always hardships and issues happening. So you're like, okay, I'm leaving, and that's it. But a part of you will always be there, and the other part would be where you're currently living, because that's also your life and your second home. But as you have said, I guess it's complicated. So for the people who want to go to America or the people who want to come to Tunisia, I guess it's up to you to decide like the pros and cons of each country, and then ask yourself, is it worth it to leave everything behind and restart over? But would you encourage people to come and experience Tunisia as someone who came and experienced?
Yes, absolutely. Again, like I said, my experience has been great, and not, just because of the place, but the biggest reason that it's been such a great experience is because the people.
Yeah, they made it easier for you to adjust to everything, yeah.
And, I always tell my friends and family back home, like, Tunisia is the most underrated country, I think. Like, it's just so beautiful and so many things to do here, like, as a tourist or, Yeah. And for the Tunisians, who want to go to America, I would say, I would encourage you as well. Like, I know that maybe you have your reasons for wanting to go. And just in general, like what you were saying, Nour, about the opportunities and stuff, like that is reality, and no one can ignore that. But I definitely always want to have hope for Tunisia, and I know that Tunisians do too, but sometimes it's hard when you experience years and years of the same thing, and the same struggles. But yeah, Tunisia is always on my heart. I pray for Tunisia all the time, and just really want to see it reach its full potential. So
yeah, totally. Thank you so much, Julia, for being here. I guess, guys, it's been already a long episode, so I hope you enjoyed our chit-chat and our talk. We tried to provide you with the information that we have, especially Julia. Like, she was the one who experienced things. So I want to thank her one more time for being with me, from taking from her time and day to be here with me and just talk it all out. And I hope you guys get to enjoy the rest of your day or night, depends on when you're listening. And hopefully we get to talk more about America also with Chase probably. And if there's anyone listening to me in Djerba or in Tunisia in general, you can contact me and we can have like a Google Meet, and we'll be recording and talking also about your experience in Tunisia and compared to your country. It depends on where you were born exactly. Just this is a little information that I didn't say before. You can always contact me and we can have an episode together. But other than that, have a great day, and thank you so much, Julia.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.